Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Straight Up Christian Podcast. I'm your host, Blair, and I'm so excited that you are here with me today to listen to this conversation. Today, me and my friend Shea are going to be talking about all things friendship, and I'm so excited for you to hear all the wisdom that she has to share with you. Before we get started, though, obviously I am a little bit sick, so if you're watching on the video, you'll probably notice a few times that I'm picking up my water and having a little sip of it because I do not want to be coughing on this for you. I don't want to ruin it by coughing. But anyways, thank you so much for having grace for this sick voice and for listening. So let's get into this conversation. Well, I'm here with my sweet best friend Shea, and I'm so excited for our conversation today because it is about friendship. But before we jump in, I asked Shea to share a few things about herself and about the first time we met and became best friends. So go ahead, Shea.
Like Blair said, my name is Shea. I attend Highlands College here in Birmingham with Blair. I'm actually in the same major as her, so we're both in pastoral major. I'm originally from the Birmingham area, so the college is kind of where I grew up at, really. I've been at Highlands since I was in second grade, so this was kind of just like a next step for me on my Highlands journey. But anyways, how we met. So the first week that we got to Highlands College, I think Blair's mentioned it in some of her other episodes, but we had revival nights is what they were called, and it's like during 21 days of prayer. There's revival nights. And so we were supposed to go to all the revival nights. So it was the second day. It was the day after move-in. And I was going to go to my campus that I got assigned to. And at this point, like, none of us know each other. We're brand new to the school. And so I'm headed to the elevator. And I'm, like, going to go to Southwest. And we're going to do this. And then on the elevator is Blair, and she just honestly looked a little bit lonely and scared. Maybe she didn't, and it was in my mind, and I was just portraying what I felt. But she was standing there, and I was like, in the elevator, awkward elevator conversations. I was like, hey, what's your name? Like, I'm Shea, and I was asking her where she was going. And she was like, yeah, I'm going to revival nights. And then I asked her if she was going to the campus here, and she was like, no, I'm actually going to the campus that I was going to. And so I was like, oh, well, let's just go together. So we combined forces, went together, and, the rest is history. We kind of just stuck to each other.
Yes, we did.
We were at the same campus, so all of our events that we did were kind of together, so we kind of just, we got attached to each other, and here we are today.
Yes,
still
besties, still trucking.
Yes, still going.
Yes. And it's just so funny because in our, first week, no one could just get on the elevator and not talk to you.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, hey, where are you from? What campus
major
are you at? What's your major?
That was the three questions.
Every time you talk to anyone. And it was like, guys, hey,
loved
let's
it,
just
though.
be silent on the elevator.
No, honestly, I loved it. I don't really like awkward silence. I get very awkward. Blair thrives in quiet.
No,
she
I
does.
love quiet.
She does.
Let's just be quiet.
I do not like quiet.
No, it was nice because then you got to know people better.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for the elevator conversations, then me and Shea wouldn't be friends.
We just happened to get on the elevator at the same time.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
Well, we're on the same hall.
Well,
so.
I mean, anyways.
Yeah, whatever. But the second part of this that we're going to talk about is we were planning this episode out together, and I was like, oh, well, what should we talk about? A nice little laugh in the beginning. And Jay was like, oh, let's talk about our first impressions of each other. So go ahead, Jay. Take it away.
I'm setting myself up to look like a terrible person with this. But, so, how, when you go to college, they make these Instagram pages, and it's everybody puts a little profile of who they are, where they're from, what major, the 3 questions that we're talking about. So you can, kind of get familiar faces when you come to the college. Well, I didn't send in my information, but I'd go through and just, look at all the people, try to see who was going to be there, and I saw Blair, and I kid you not, the first impression, I saw her picture, and my immediate thought was, yeah, I will never be her friend, because I think I was just intimidated by you because she had her cute little picture with her Bible open, and she had her, like, she's so gorgeous, and so I was just like, oh, she's too good for me, I'll never be friends with her. But I literally was like, yeah, I ruled her off, and so it's kind of funny because she was, like, one of the first people, like, I met here and was, like, friends with. But yeah, my first impression was, like, not gonna be friends with her, and now we're just, like, best friends,
Yeah.
so just never rule people out, honestly.
Yes. And we all do it, so don't nobody come for my friend Shay.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
Because, you
I
you
apologize.
do the same thing.
One day I was like, hey, I have to tell you something. Because I had been holding it in forever. And she was kind of just like, oh.
It was funny to me.
Yeah.
Because we all do it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, my first impression, which, as you were saying that, it brought me back 8 months ago. Was that 8 months ago?
Probably around there.
Ish. And actually was saying, I really don't remember my first impression, but now I do. It was when we had church with our family at the campus that they have at the college. The, like, first day before our families left. We all went to have church. And I remember seeing Shay walking, like,
oh, I remember this.
along, I don't even, what is it? The courtyard out there?
The lawn.
The
green.
lawn.
It's called
the green.
It's called the green.
The green. The courtyard is what it is. She was walking out there, and I saw her sister run up to her and give her a big hug. And I saw her, like, with her whole family, and I just assumed that she was part of the church. And I was like, oh, she's so cute and so pretty, and her style is so cool. Like, she seems like she knows everyone. Like, I hope that I get comfortable around here.
I actually saw you, because you sat, like, 2 rows in front of us, like, when we were sitting. And I was like, oh, there's that girl. So bad. I was just complete honesty, guys. But I was like, oh, there's that girl. Because you were wearing a blue long dress.
Yeah.
But you were so pretty.
Oh, well, you were so pretty, too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. But if you know Shay, you know that she's the sweetest person ever.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
So, but we all
Please
have
don't
our
think-
first
Please
impression.
don't think I'm a judgmental person.
Honestly, I was probably thinking the same thing when I saw you. I was probably like, she'll probably never want to be my friend.
Yeah, it was more of, like, out of, like, a insecurity, I think, than it was, like, a... Because I was like, oh, she's so cool. I would never be friends with her. Kind of like, I can't reach that. But here I am.
Here we are.
So,
Besties.
yes.
But anyways, that was a fun little intro into our conversation about friendship, which was about friendship. Friendship is intertwining. Anyways, so let's jump in to our actual topic today. All right, so first, I want to get into the why behind this conversation. Why are we talking about friendship? Why is friendship so important that I would bring my friend on to have a conversation about it? Because we all know what friendship is. But my first question for Shay really is going to be, why is friendship so important to you?
So I was thinking about this question, and really the first thing that came to mind was, like, at the very beginning of the Bible, when God created man, it was, like, the first thing that he created that was, like, not good, because everything he created was, like, and it was good. But when he saw that man was alone, it was not good, so he had to create a helper for the man. So, like, my first thought of, like, why is friendship so important is we weren't created to do life alone. Like, it's just not healthy. We weren't created in order to do it alone, and so friends come alongside you, and they just help you get through your little journey of life, you know?
They do.
They do.
Friends are so good. That's such a good answer.
Thank you.
was not expecting that.
Oh, yes. But also, another thing, because we need these friends in our lives, they also, like, when I think of why my friends are so important in my life, a big thing is because of, A, they build me up, they encourage me, and B, they keep me accountable.
Right.
And so if you don't have people in your life that are building you up and keeping you accountable, then it's not a recipe for good things. I'll tell you that.
It's not at all. Yeah, I put in my notes, show me your friends and I'll show you your future, which we talked about while we were, like, creating this episode. And a verse I have for that is 1 Corinthians 15:33, which says, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character." And it's just simple. Who you surround yourself with, really, it's gonna go into who you become. And you get to choose who gets to have influence in your life and who you do life with.
Yeah.
So friendships are important because they do impact us in such a big way.
Yeah, I agree. Another verse I had for this too that I wanted to share, kind of just like about the importance of like having friends in life and honestly not doing life alone, is found in Ecclesiastes 4 verses 9 through 12, and it says, "Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either one of them falls down, one can help the other up, but pity the one who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm, but how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of three strands is not equally broken, or quickly broken." And I think that honestly shows like the accountability of like friends. If one falls down, like there's going to be someone to pick them up. I think a lot of times we think of this verse in like the context of like if you're sad or if like you're upset, then you have a friend to pull you up. But I think honestly this can be seen like in the context of like if one falls down and like you do something you know you're not supposed to be doing, like somebody else is there to pick them back up and pull them higher.
Yeah.
So I really like that about that verse. But
yeah, like I think in our, I don't remember where I heard this. It might have been in chapel or it might have been in the sermon on Sunday. But talking about snatching your friend from the fire, like that's what we're supposed to do. The verse is somewhere. I'll have to find it, but this just popped in my head in our conversation, so I wasn't prepared to talk about this. But you know, it says we are to like snatch our friends from the fire, not in this like, oh, I love you, like come over here. Yes, but if we see our friend, like you said, doing something that they're not supposed to do, I'm snatching you from that. Like I'm not letting you get any closer. But we'll get into a little bit more about that later. But I really just want us to share some things that we do in our friendship to make our friendships healthy and that really just help our entire friend group as a whole be healthy.
Yeah.
And have great friendships all together. So let's jump into that really quickly.
Yeah. First I want to just say that like the friends I found here in college and answered prayer. Yes. Honestly, if you're going through a season right now where you feel like you have no godly friends and you're just like we're talking about friendship and you don't have friends, just keep going. Keep praying for your friends. They'll come, I promise you.
Yeah.
But I think just because she was talking about our friend group, it comes with like having those good friends, you know. But some things that I've observed that like our friend group and like our friendship does really well is communication.
Yes.
Everyone always says that like when you ask about any type of relationship, communication, but I think over communication is so good because when you don't communicate, there's so many questions, so many assumptions that can be made, and it just leads to like confusion and honestly like just making assumptions that are not true, which is not gonna help the friendship or your own like self. So I think communication is so like important in any relationship, but especially a friendship that's you want to like keep growing, you know.
Yeah. I put that too. Like the small things that we say to each other, they honestly do build up. And if you aren't communicating with your friends, maybe small things that they have said to you that hurt your feelings, then those things are just going to build up. And I have a verse I also wanted to share with that. It's Proverbs 27:6, and it's wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. And basically this just means like if Shea comes to me and is like, Blair, this hurts my feelings when you do this, or Blair, your attitude about this isn't in a good place, that might hurt my feelings. That's going to wound me, but I'm going to grow from that more than if someone who wasn't interested in my personal growth was just telling me how awesome I am all the time. So that's what this verse really does mean. And I think it's just so valuable to have friends who are willing to say, hey, you're doing wrong in this. And it's from a loving and a caring place. They're communicating it well, but it's what you need to hear. And it really just does grow you as a person when you're able to have friends who care enough about you to be straight up and say, they're going to snatch you from that fire. I'm snatching you from the fire. Snatch.
Oh, goodness. Another thing that kind of goes along with, like, the or communication really is, I think that we were talking about this when we were, like, getting ready for this podcast, but that in our friendships, I feel like we all fight to be the first to apologize, and I think that that's just such a good, like, policy to have, I guess, because if you're all fighting to be the first to apologize, then your hearts aren't going to be, like, burdened by, oh my gosh, they said this, oh my gosh. But with that comes, like, you have to be vulnerable, like she was saying, to say, like, hey, this did bother me or whatever. And I think being, like, above reproach, I guess, and, like, I think just, honestly, it comes from, like, truly caring for your friends.
Yes.
Because if you truly have a heart for your friends and you truly love them and you don't want them to be hurt, then you're going to, like, oh my gosh, I said something that might have offended them. Like, let me apologize. That wasn't my heart, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think just being very apologetic, but also, like, don't apologize for things that you didn't do. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not to a point where it's like, oh, I didn't even do that, but I guess I'll apologize.
Yes.
You know? There's a fine line.
There's boundaries.
Yes, boundaries. That was the other thing.
We'll get into that. All right, so let's talk about these boundaries really quick. Go ahead, Shea.
Yeah, so if you don't, well, y'all probably don't know me, but, like, people who know me know I love boundaries.
She does.
When it comes to boundaries, I love a good boundary. And one of the, like, chapels or kind of guest resident people that we had come a couple months ago at the beginning of the school year did, like, a whole thing on boundaries. I got so excited. Guys, boundaries. But anyways, he gave an illustration for boundaries, which I feel like is really good to, like, clarify at the beginning, because a lot of people, when they hear boundaries, is, like, automatically closed up, and they're like, oh, boundaries keep me away from people. But the illustration he gave is that a lot of people think of boundaries, they think of walls. And so, like, if you have a wall, you're not getting over that wall. It's a wall. But boundaries are actually meant to be gates. So someone comes to the gate, and you get to decide what comes in and what comes out. And so I think boundaries in any context are just very healthy, because it allows you to filter in what you want into your mind, into your space, you know. And some boundaries that, like, we have in our friendships, I think that are very good is, it comes with the communication, but, like, communicating, hey, I'm going to bed at this time, so whatever. Or, hey, for us, like, we both have boyfriends, so I'm going to be on the phone with my boyfriend, or I'm going to go out with my boyfriend tonight. Or boundaries of, like, I guess just, if someone's, like, dealing with something that's, like, pretty heavy, and they need some space to get away for a second, you're not going to overburden them. Like, of course you want to, like, check up on them because you're your friend and you care about them, but having that boundary of, okay, like, I don't need to be the first one, which another good boundary that I just thought of, actually, is a lot of times, like, for Christians, like, our first instinct is to go tell our other friends when something's upsetting us.
Yes.
Or, like, something big came up and, like, oh my gosh, I have to go tell Blair. But our first response should be, oh my gosh, let me go pray. Or let me go talk to Jesus about this. So I think that's a good boundary too. Like, having boundaries of, is this something I need to be telling my friend about? Or is this something I need to be, like, getting serious in prayer about, you know?
Yes, that's so good. Just to add to that, I think that a lot of the reasons why a good bit of friendships fail is a mix of all of these things we're going to talk about that help you have a healthy friendship, that aren't applied in those situations, but a lot of it does have to do with boundaries. And a lot of friends, you become friends with someone, and then you hang out every day, and then you get in what me and Shay call the sister stage.
Yes, sister
where
stage.
you become more like sisters, or maybe more like brothers, for some of you who are listening. And then you begin to bicker, and then you think, oh, well, I can't be friends with that person anymore. Yeah. But, like, me and Shay, we do bicker.
Ooh, we sister bicker.
We do. Especially in the mornings.
Especially Sunday mornings on our way to church. I know. Our poor friend Olivia, so the three of us ride together because we all go to the same campus, and she always makes this joke. It's like without fail every Sunday morning.
Almost every, well, the last few Sundays we've been doing pretty good.
I think it's because we've been aware of it, and so we're kind of just like, but we'll get in the car and we'll just, like, I don't even know what we...
Dumb stuff. It's like it's literally sister
bicker. It's ridiculous things, but it is, like, just, like, that's something I would fight with my sister. And then, like, someone would be like, stop fighting. We're like, we're not fighting! Because we don't want anybody to think that we're in an argument.
Yes.
It's so true, though.
No, it is. But it's like you get to this sister stage, and that is a stage you need to be practicing all these things we're talking about. Not in the beginning, the honeymoon stage of friendship where, oh, we just met each other, we're with each other every day, we meet each other. No, it's when you get into the real life situations, because humans are flawed, and I am flawed, Shea is flawed, and we're going to say things to each other that may hurt the other person's feelings. So a lot of the times where these boundaries need to come up is, hey, should we be spending every second of every day together, or do we need to take a breath?
Right.
Like, these boundaries are important to keep a good and healthy friendship. But the next thing I want to talk about, just kind of shifting away from boundaries, is humility. This is such a big thing for me because I constantly have to remind myself, Blair, be humble, be humble. But if you want to be understood by your friends, you need to be willing to understand them.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting down having a conversation and you want to tell your friend, hey, this thing hurt my feelings, hey, can we do this differently? When they come back with you with, hey, I don't understand that, or, well, I don't really see it that way, you don't need to be like, well, hey, you're just wrong. I don't care what you say because my feelings are hurt.
Right.
Like, I am right and you are wrong. You need to take a second, take a breath, calm down, and be like, all right, I understand. Let's try to work through this.
Yes.
Let's try to see each other's point of views and see what's going on here, because I want you to understand me. I want to understand you. And at the end of this, I don't want us to not be friends. I want us to be even closer, because there was a bump in the road and we got over it and now we're cruising.
Yep.
So it's just so important that you have a humble spirit and you're trying to realize, hey, this hurt my feelings, but their feelings might be hurt too.
Yeah.
And even if I don't understand Shay's feelings, she's my friend. And if she's telling me, hey, this hurt my feelings, why do I want to hurt her feelings? Yeah. I don't want to hurt her feelings. So when she says, Claire, hurt my feelings that you said this, I'm going to say, well, dang, I'm sorry, I don't hurt your feelings.
I think it does come to, like, as humans, we all try to defend ourselves. Nobody wants to be like, you might say, you're like, yeah, I'm like, I'll be the first to apologize. But, like, we all want to defend ourselves because we don't want to be seen as, especially if you love your friend so much, like, I just love you, Blair.
Oh.
So if you're coming to me and telling me, like, hey, when you did this, it upset me, my defense might come up because I don't want, like, I get almost, like, ashamed because I'm like, oh, my gosh, I hurt her. So then I defend myself because I'm like, oh, no, I am a good friend. But it comes out in, like, a way of, like, oh, well, I didn't actually do that. Or, like, oh, you shouldn't be thinking that. But I think humility is very important in a friendship.
Yes, I definitely agree. My last thing on this kind of topic is stewardship. And basically that just means, like, taking care of something that you've been given. So for me, Shay kind of mentioned it already. Our friendship and our friend group that we have right now is so valuable. Like, we have been praying for these girls for years. I know we're going to get a little bit more into that later on in the episode. But when I have been blessed with something that is so valuable to me, I am going to take care of it.
Yeah.
And that is an important thing to realize in friendships. When God blesses you with someone that maybe you've been praying for, or just anything, you should be determined to steward that thing well.
Yeah.
Whether that's a person, a job, like anything. This applies beyond friendship, but just in the friendship aspect, I'm going to steward my friendships well. I'm going to put time and energy into them because I love them and I have been blessed with them.
Yes.
And it's just so important that we realize the blessing that our friends are and just how much we love them, how much we care for them. And yeah, we need to steward our friendships well. Alright, so now that we have given y'all some ways to keep your friendships healthy, I wanted to ask Shay what exactly she looks for in a friendship, because maybe you don't have the most friends and you're wanting to get out there and find some besties, but you don't know what you should be looking for.
Right.
So hit us with it.
Okay, I think first off, it's important to know that there's different types of friends. So you don't want to have an expectation for a friend that doesn't like line up with something that you should be expecting, I guess you can say that. So I've categorized like the 3 types of friends as one, there's acquaintances. So these are people like, oh, you go to school with them, or you do sports with them, or you work with them. And so you're friends with them, you have great conversations with them when you're at that designated place, but maybe y'all don't really hang out outside of it. It's like your work friend, your school friend, whatever. Then you have friends. And these are people that you hang out maybe in groups, or you go hang out and get coffee with them a couple times or whatever. And they're, again, great friends. Like, all these are good friends. And then lastly, a best friend. And these are the friends where it's like, okay, now we've gotten to a level where I can trust you with things that I'm struggling with. Or maybe I can tell you, like, oh, this is a big dream of mine that I have. And these are the people that are more like, I guess, in the know, you could say.
Yeah. In the know.
So again, like I said, you don't want to have an expectation for an acquaintance that you should be like trusting a best friend with, you know? So it's important to know like the different types of friends. But I have 3 big things that I was like, these are some things I look for in a best friend. So this is, again, the deeper level of a friend. And the first one is spiritual maturity. And so if you're a Christian, or if you're maybe new to like God and everything, it's important that you find someone that's on like the same, for lack of better words, level as you. I don't like saying that because I don't think there's levels of Christianity. You're saved, you know.
Yes.
But I'm talking about if you are struggling with something and maybe you've been a Christian for a couple of years and you're going to someone that just got saved, their spiritual maturity might not be as high, I guess. And so with this, like, let me have words. Spiritual maturity thing. I also kind of categorize this as 3 things. And you can speak on this too, but.
Okay.
The 3 things I categorize this into is if you're with someone that is, like, way higher on a spiritual maturity level, then they become more like a mentor to you. If you're with someone that is on a lower spiritual maturity, then they become someone you mentor. And so you want to try to find someone in the middle range, which is kind of like, okay, we're kind of have the same understanding of God. Like, we kind of, like, spend the same, I don't know how to.
We're on the same level of life.
We're
going through the same things.
Yes.
We kind of want the same things
Yes.
in lives. We're trying to achieve the same things.
Yes.
Is basically what she's trying to get at. Does that help?
Yeah, I don't want it to seem like there's different levels of Christian, because there's not.
Yes, there's not.
There's not.
I think that is very clear.
Yes.
We're not going to twist any words here. Continue.
Okay. So, I have a verse for this, and it's from Proverbs 13:20. If you're ever looking for any insight on friendships, Proverbs is the way to go.
Yes.
A lot of things about friends in there. But Proverbs 13:20 says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." And so, basically what it says, walk with the wise and become wise. What she was saying earlier, show me your friends, I'll show you your future, is also, like, relevant to, I've heard, like, you become like those you surround yourselves with. And so if you want to become a nicer person, or if you want to be established as, like, okay, I'm a loyal person, people trust me, like, I'm a fun person, then you need to hang out with people that are like that, because also you attract who you are. And so if you're looking around and you're like, I need some good friends, then in order to have a friend, you have to be a friend. My dad always told me that growing up.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Doesn't she just have so much wisdom?
Oh, thank you.
Love you so much.
I love you.
And the only thing I really have to add to this is, because I knew she was going to say all this good stuff. And so I really do agree with that. This is when boundaries come into play too.
Yeah.
When we're talking about acquaintances, friends, and best friends.
Yeah.
I am an oversharer. Shea is not.
I'm an undershare.
She's an undersharer. That kind of sounds like underwearer. I was like, let me make sure I say this correctly. Still going to be out there now.
Right.
But anyways. I'm an oversharer. And Shea is not. And for me, I had to learn, and I am still learning, who to share things with and who not to share things with, who deserves this part of my life, and who maybe hasn't done anything to not deserve it, but I'm not close enough with them to say, hey, I want to share this with you.
Right.
So for Shea, like, she knows me. Like I said, I'm an oversharer, so when I have a best friend, like, they're knowing it all. But some people that I go to school with, they don't know me like Shea knows me. So it's important that we set up those boundaries for my oversharers out there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't overshare with the wrong people.
Right.
Because it will come up and bite you in the behind.
Mm-hmm.
But for my undersharers like Shea, make sure that you're giving enough of yourself to your friendship to actually gain something from it. Because if you're not putting yourself out there, then your friends aren't going to be able to hold you accountable in the ways that you're wanting them to.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to add, in our search for friendship, just make sure you're understanding that no friend is perfect.
Yes.
They're not going to understand you 100%. That's not their job. That's God's job.
Yeah.
So we're not trying to put our friends above God. We're trying to keep our friends where our friends are supposed to be, and God where God is supposed to be. He is supposed to be the one that understands us 100% of the time, and our friends are supposed to be the ones who understand us probably 70-80% of the time. There's no way they can fully know us.
Right.
So I think that's important to point out here. So yeah, don't expect your friends to know you like God knows you. All right, Shay, do you have anything else to add to that?
I will say I have 2 more things that I look for personally when I'm looking for a best friend. And honestly, this next one I'm going to say goes for friends in general. And that's honor. So for this, I have a verse to go along, and it's in Philippians 2:5. And it says, in your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus. And after this is like the prelude to a list of what Jesus did. And so it's basically talking about how Jesus took the lower position and he humbled himself to a cross. And I wanted to share this verse because I think honor comes a lot with humility, which we touched on earlier. And in order to honor someone, you do have to take the lower seat, and realize the importance of your friend. But I wanted to speak in this realm of honor. What does it mean to honor? Honor simply means to give value, or not give value. You already have value. Honor means to acknowledge value and to bring value out of someone. Everyone already has value. They're created in the image of Christ. They're valuable. Put that on period. But anyways, so with that, I just want to say for a lot of my friends who might be watching, maybe you're in a place right now and you have friends who aren't speaking to you maybe in the best way. Maybe they're saying some things that are just not, you take a look back and you're like, that's just not really a kind thing to say to me. Mm-hmm. And I want to encourage you that there are friends who do not speak to you like that. And so if you are struggling with that right now, know that you should not be spoken over. Words of life bring up. Yes. And I think honoring friends will bring life up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You have anything to say about that?
Yeah, that's really good. I like that point because I think a lot of the times we can get in these kind of friendship traps and think oh, this person is my friend, they love me a lot, and they might love you, but maybe sometimes you do need to set up a boundary and say, hey, well, they're not speaking to me in the best way. They haven't been treating me the best way, and they're not really valuing me right now, so maybe I just need to take a step back. Doesn't mean I don't love them. No. Doesn't mean I don't text them. Doesn't mean I have to end it in a nasty way. It just means that, hey, maybe I'm just going to take a step back, maybe not text them as much, maybe not ask to hang out as much, and just let them do whatever they want to do with their life, because what they're doing to you in that time maybe just isn't what you need in a friend, and you can find a more valuable friend somewhere else. But I really liked that. And the last thing that I am going to say about this is, Shay kind of touched on it earlier, but if you do not have these friends that we're talking about right now, that is okay. Yeah. We both went through seasons of our lives where we had almost no friends. Mm-hmm. And I was lucky enough to have my now boyfriend, who was my best friend for a while, but he wasn't a girl. So it was really hard to... I still loved him, and God blessed me with him through those seasons, but I never I didn't have these girlfriends, and I was praying to have these girlfriends who wanted to hang out with me on the weekends and wanted the same things in life as me. And I definitely had friends in high school.
Yeah.
You are probably listening right now, and I was probably friends with you in high school. This is not a knock at you. I still love you. This is just to say that I was looking for someone who was wanting to go into full-time ministry,
Yeah.
and I didn't really have a lot of people like that around me,
Mm-hmm.
except for Gavin, my boyfriend.
Yeah.
And I prayed for years to have the friends that I do today,
Yeah.
that I call my best friends. So all of that to say, those stages of me not having friends were so fundamental to my faith, to my growth, to where I am today. And if you're in that season, continue to pray
Yeah.
for these friends. Continue to seek friends. Continue to go to church and be involved in your youth group or your small group or your young adults group or serving on Sunday.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like, keep seeking them out. God hears you. He has friends for you. So just put yourself out there. It might be a little bit uncomfortable, but God hears your prayers.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to encourage you that if you don't have these friends right now, pray for them.
Yeah. I think too, like, honestly, our relationship is so, like, our friendship is so unique in that we do have very similar stories of friendships in the past, and, like, just our life, how we grew up kind of a little bit in the past couple of years has been pretty similar. And so I think that's what makes our, like, friendship so special, and it can be, like, a testimony of hope to any of y'all who are looking for friends right now. Like Blair said, me too. I've been praying for, like, a best friend since I was in, like, 8th grade. Like, day in, day out, I was like, God, just give me a friend. And so when I met Blair in, like, my friend group now, it was like, oh my gosh, it was very much, like, fruitfulness of my prayers. And so if you've been praying for years and you're like, girl, I've been doing this, it's not doing anything, keep doing it.
Yes.
Because you never know. And honestly, I'm just so grateful because now I have friends for life. And I know that you guys have friends for life out there too.
Yes. Best friends!
Yes!
All right, well, that's all for this episode today. I hope you enjoyed my sweet, sweet, sweet best friend Shea, and I hope that maybe she dropped some wisdom bombs on you, maybe changed your perspective about friendship a little bit. And I just wanted to say, if you are not following the Straight Up Christian Podcast on Instagram, be sure to do that at Straight Up Christian Podcast. It will be in the description below. Also, get ready because the next episode of this podcast will be on April 15th, posted at 12 a.m. So get ready. If you're wondering why we post at 12 a.m., it is so you can listen to it in the morning, Monday mornings when you're driving to work, or maybe you can't sleep at 12 a.m. You will have a podcast episode to listen to. And lastly, before I let you all go, I just wanted to say a very happy birthday to my sweet baby cousin, Sophia. So if you will, comment happy birthday, Sophia, because she really is such a joy to my life and I love her so much. So I just wanted to say happy birthday because this episode will be posted on her birthday. She's getting so big and it's making me so sad as an older cousin. So please tell her happy birthday. Anyways, I love you all and I hope you have a great rest of your week.